Welcome to EchoCast and welcome Teresa Arias. Teresa is the director of online learning and instructional innovation at Hill College, where she works with instructors to implement learning technologies like Echo 360 in and outside of the classroom. In fact, she does it so well that I'm told that Hill College, which for those that don't know Hill, it's a good sized school, but it's not huge. It's not, tens of thousands of students, but it's actually one of the biggest, if not the biggest, power user of the note-taking feature in Echo 360. So I'm sure we'll dig into that a little bit here, a little bit later, but it seems to be just one of the many things that she is mastering now, helping Hill College inspire its learners. So let's find out more from her. Hey, Teresa.
Hi.
Well, it's great to have you on, and I can't wait to get your perspectives as an administrator of learning technologies. We've had instructors on the show talking about kind of the, how they're implementing it, but it's going to be great to get your perspective from your end of the learning kind of engagement continuum. But before we get into that, maybe just give a little bit of background on how you found yourself in this line of work.
Sure. It's actually kind of a winding road. I didn't expect to find myself sort of in administration in this format. As you mentioned, I went into librarianship. I actually started with Hill as my first job out of school as a professional development coordinator. So that was when I was actually first introduced to Echo 360. But it was really brief at that time. I ended up going to spend a year at Florida State University as a librarian there. And then I returned to Hill and have been that's when I became the director of online learning and instructional innovation, and really became much more involved in all of our technologies, but Echo 360, of course, specifically.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, as I mentioned, we've talked to a lot of instructors about how they're using the technology and how it's working and what they're looking forward to kind of coming up. And so I'm loving to talk to you from the administration standpoint. Because I picture administrators like yourselves going out there and finding cool technologies, finding things that are going to, be great for, not just one instructor, but the whole institution, kind of at large. And then I imagine, which I'm sure doesn't happen, all of these negotiations that have to go on between the administration and these instructors to get the adoption. And so I'm wondering if you could just kind of speak to it, which again, I'm sure it's not nearly as dramatic as that, but maybe just speak a little bit of the relationship that you have with instructors and kind of the role, how you see your role in maybe, curating or bringing forth the technologies. What kind of things are you looking for? And then when you bring them in, how does that happen? And how does the whole adoption process, how does it work?
Sure. So I think I actually benefit in my current role the fact that I was a professional development coordinator first. I was able to build relationships really early on before I had, the need to really sort of implement these tools in a more meaningful way for them. I also led them through our LMS change when we moved from Blackboard to Schoology, and in my previous role. And so again, that relationship building during that time and leading through that change really strengthened their trust in me that I hope I take good care of as I find new tools for them to use. Or in this case, Echo 360 was already here. We were using it primarily for classroom capture. And so I really wanted to take advantage of the student engagement tools that we have. And so I had actually started a little bit before I left for FSU, really trying to promote Echo 360 and how they could use it in their classrooms, whether they were face-to-face instructors or whether or not they were doing the online instruction. So we've, over time and through it coming into now, I've taken advantage of having our Echo 360 client success managers come in and do some live training sessions. I participate there and make sure that instructors know I'm there with them, trying to learn alongside them, and be able to, so that they know I can help them as they come out of it. one of the most fascinating things in particular with the note taking is that we were contacted by some instructors just in general how they could use Echo 360 in their classrooms. But I have one biology instructor who just really took that note taking, and she's really leading that charge. She's incorporated it as part of her assessments in her classes. And so students take notes. She actually uploads her lectures, and she takes full advantage of some of those others. She was kind of a power user prior to taking hold of this note-taking feature. And she asks students to submit that sort of proof into an assignment so that she can see that they're using the feature. And so it's been really exciting to see, to have Echo let us know that, we're sort of leading the way in this. And I think now I'm working with our instructor. She's going to submit a grant application with Echo 360 to try to do some more detailed look at her student success over time and how this is impacting it. And she really wants to dig into that information. And so I'm really excited to work with her on that, because one of the best ways to sort of get adoption of these types of tools is to have peer-to-peer learning. And so we're going to make sure that she participates in our professional development week in the fall and really sort of share this success. And I can be there with her to say, this is, look at how Hill's really standing out, taking advantage of this feature so that we can keep promoting it. I think it's going to be great for our students.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned the peer-to-peer learning, and that was kind of be my question. You're in such a cool spot. How do you manage the influx of all, because not just from Echo 360, but from all the other technologies that you're managing? How do you manage the influx of all the new things that come in? Recognizing that the instructors have their day jobs where they're just they're focused on outcomes and their students, and yet you're seeing all this new stuff come in all the time. How do you manage kind of that ebb and flow?
Sure. I have an LMS specialist who works with me, and I really try to make sure that the two of us are really exploring these technologies and understanding their use and benefits before we ever try to, adopt anything ourselves to then roll out. One of my concerns about technology sort of in general is relying too much on our technologies in the sense that I don't want our students to be overwhelmed by always having to learn something new, in addition to our faculty always having to learn something new. So I really try to be thoughtful about what technology we implement into our programs. And so just that in general helps us be really careful about how, if we bring anything else in, how is it going to work with, say, Echo 360? How does it team up together with that? Another thing that I really try to stay focused on is student privacy and data collection and how we use our data that we do collect. So I try to be mindful of, again, how these tools are going to work together. So for me, Echo 360 is really great. I feel like there's a good balance of getting some analytics, being able to turn that around and seeing how it's affecting student success without really overstepping boundaries that can be really hard to define, because really what we're doing is trying to manage what we do to get the most impact on student success. So I just try to be really careful about how we make our choices of what technology. So once we've made that choice, I feel like it's, again, I've worked with those relationships in advance that I hope faculty are going to trust the decisions I make coming out of my office or my position, so that if I've made a decision that I think something might be useful, once we roll that out, I think that faculty are going to at least give me that benefit of the doubt in the beginning to start engaging with that content and make decisions if they think it's valuable or not. So I try to think about that up front, and it's been pretty useful. And I think for me, one of the things I've learned over time, I did a lot of training in my previous career in retail. So it's really easy to sort of latch on to our early adopters, our faculty that love what we're doing, or our cheerleaders or our champions of what we're doing. But I've really found that I like to try to focus on some of my resistors And the reason is that really understanding what they're resistant to, whether it's simply change, whether there's something that they're concerned about in how a product might work or might affect them or their workflow. If I can try to think about their perspective first, it's typically going to remove those barriers before they even can come up. And that makes them more receptive, I think, to things that I do present to them because they feel seen, they feel heard before we get into any big challenges. So that's really, I think, one of the most successful things I try to keep in mind is really thinking about sort of a real broad view of how the tool is going to roll out, not just thinking about, well, I know these, this set of faculty are really going to love it, and really think about how I can try to meet those resistors up front.
How could you see, if you could imagine, if we hit the Wayback button and you were actually plopped back into that, got kind of more that commercial retail space? Are there the technologies are very, kind of agnostic. They can be applied in a variety of different settings, but would there be any of the features, any of the things that you're leaning on now that you would maybe be leaning on more or less if you were back in that world?
Sure. That's one thing, just to sort of set this up a little bit, is one thing that I think really benefited me from retail is that in my experience in the few companies that I did work for, were very structured in their training and development goals. And they went beyond, well, day one, here's some videos, watch these, now go to work. It was far beyond that. You got that stuff, but then management was very much geared towards developing you as a staff member. So I actually started as a part-time employee and worked my way up all the way through all the levels of basically working in a store until I became a store manager. I worked at 2 or 3 different levels of management and then became store manager and then became a training store manager. And that has really benefited me. So to turn that into like, what tools would I use? I think it'd be hard just from my position that I was in to do that stuff, but I think I would be able to promote that within my company, sort of in the other direction, and say, here's some really great tools that we could use, and here's why that would benefit helping to train the people. So I was able to help with some training materials in my position that were then used out into some other stores. But I think that would really help me and potentially even help me in a retail environment, could have helped me move farther upwards in the sense of I could have been more proactive about leveraging my personal experience to impact how other stores were trained, how other managers were trained, and perhaps could have helped me contribute more on that end as opposed to just down into my management teams and employees. Could have perhaps taken it and contributed up into developing tools to be used.
Yeah. No, I think that, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier also about just on the instructor side, the kind of that peer-to-peer influence, somebody finds something that's working and shares it. I think that's, one of the best ways ideas sort of get spread. Hey, we are already, time goes so fast. We're already at our last little segment here, segment that we like to call Inspiration Point. The inspiration point, got to put the emphasis on the right word there, the inspiration point, which is the same question we ask everybody who comes on EchoCast. And it's about the biggest lesson that you've learned. So over all the years that you've been leading organizations, whether they're in retail, whether they're in academia, what's the biggest lesson you've learned? Or if you had one piece of advice to leave people with based on what you've the trail you've blazed, what would be that one piece of advice?
I don't know. It's a challenging question, but I think the thing that maybe has helped me the most is not being afraid to let people know that I don't have all the answers. So you got to find a balance between being the expert, being the one that can teach, being the one that can answer the questions, doing all that stuff, but then also letting those people you're teaching know that you also face challenges. You also have to learn new things. You also need to sometimes ask questions, and that's okay to do. But to say, I'm not sure, but I'm going to get you the answer, and then follow through with that. So perhaps just being able to help the learner understand that you're on a similar plane with them, that you might be the expert or you might be the teacher, but there's still going to be a factor of being a peer with that person. Like, hey, I'm right there with you. I have to learn this stuff too. I didn't just wake up one day and have it all in my brain. And I'm on the journey with you, I guess is one way to put it, is, we're in it together. It's not my job to tell you what to do. I'm here to help you, and that I'm human too, and we're going to get there together. And sometimes that, I think, has helped develop those relationships, because they know they can come to me, and I'm not. It's that delicate balance of, there's no stupid questions. That people like to say that, and you really do have to let them know that there aren't. You got to, no matter how small that detail you might be thinking, at some point you had to learn that small detail. And so putting that grace out there that, hey, I understand you've got to learn that small detail too. You don't know it until you know it. And so just trying to be a partner with them. That was kind of rambly, but you kind of get there, I think.
No, I think, hey, that's the best kind of rambling right there, because you're talking about building relationships, having the humility, and letting people know that, yeah, I mean, it sounds corny, but we are all in this together. We're all on this journey, and we can all help each other out no matter where we are. So this is fabulous. Thank you, Teresa Arias, for joining us here on EchoCast and sharing just your story and your perspectives and your commitment to inspired learning. It's just, it is inspiring. So we're going to let Teresa go now, but everybody else stick around for a quick demonstration of some of the applications referenced here in this EchoCast. And you can also go to echo360.com for more episodes and more resources to create your own inspired learning experiences.
Here's a quick demonstration of an Echo360 solution related to this episode of EchoCast. Reach out to us at echo360.com to learn more.
Welcome to Echo 360's Taking Notes and Collaborating During Class demonstration. We will show you how to launch an Echo 360 class so you can navigate through your instructor's content to follow along in the presentation, take notes about the lecture and tag them to specific slides, bookmark and flag useful or confusing content to review later, get clarification on a topic by posting a question to your instructor or other students, and respond to a question to contribute to the class discussion. The Echo 360 platform enables you to follow along with a classroom lecture, take notes and participate in online discussions, all the while adding content to your online study guide for review after class. You can access the active learning platform from your smartphone, tablet, or laptop. Click on the thumbnail image to go directly to that class, or click the All Classes button to see the full list of classes. This icon indicates that the instructor included a presentation in the class. This icon indicates that a video is attached to the class. For both of these icons, green means that you have not viewed it yet, and gray means that you have already viewed it. The live icon indicates that the class is in session. The date and name of the class appears on the navigation bar. Navigate the presentation slides by clicking on the previous and next arrows, or click the slide number in the center to jump to a different slide. You can also toggle the presentation between regular and full screen. Use these tools to take notes, participate in online discussions, bookmark content to your study guide, and flag the instructor, letting them know that you are confused. Type your notes in the panel throughout class. They are automatically tagged to the presentation slides, both of which will then appear in your personal study guide. Your notes are personal to you and not visible by the instructor or other students. Hover the mouse over the slide tag to change and associate to another slide, or delete the slide number for this note. Click the bookmark icon to include a thumbnail of the slide in your study guide. The remainder of this demonstration is modified to compare the instructor and student point of view. If at any point during the presentation you're confused, Click the flag icon. The instructor can see how many students are confused in real time and pause the lecture to address the issue. Use the questions panel to interact with the instructor and other students during class. Click Reference Class Content to add the slide number reference and image to the question. If you prefer not to associate your name with a question, enable the Post Anonymously slider. The blue bookmark automatically appears for any question that you post. You can bookmark additional questions or responses that you want to remember. All bookmarked items will appear in your study guide for review after class. A red dot indicates that the question has not been read. Students and instructors can respond to a question. The counter reflects the number of responses. Notice that since the student posted the question as anonymous, the instructor can see their name, but it does not appear to other students. Click Respond to this question if you wish to continue the discussion. Enter your response in the text field. Anyone can endorse a question or response. An additional notation appears if one of the endorsements is from the instructor.
Thanks for tuning in to EchoCast. For more information on these and other inspired learning solutions, visit us at echo360.com.